better hope. They shove it aside, don't look at it, and teach us the other. The letter kills, but isn't that what we've all been taught to follow? Isn't that amazing? That just stunned me when I started reading what the Bible really says and hearing what's being preached. And I'm saying, what are they doing? You know, where are they getting? So, how is it going to work? Are we going to become righteous in God's eyes through our obedience to the letter of the law? Or is it only possible to become righteous in God's eyes through our faith in Christ's obedience on our behalf?
Yes.
That's it. I mean, that's the only way that is sensible that could possibly be. Again, as believers, are we made perfect by the letter or by the Spirit?
That's good.
You know, it's simple.
Yes.
Okay, well then let's go on to 2 Corinthians chapter 3. Really, we can cancel right now because it sounds like you guys already know all this. But, just in case we missing a point, we'll read on just a little bit. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 12 to 17. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 12 to 17. And starting here with verse 12, I like it so much because Paul says, seeing then that we have such hope, this was that better hope that he talked about, right? We use great plainness of speech. Do you know how many churches I've gone to and not heard plainness of speech? Please give me some plainness of speech, you know. He says, we use great plainness of speech. This is Paul. Not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished. In other words, he's coming down all full of glory and glowing, but he puts a veil so they won't see that glory fading away, which is representative of the New Testament being passed off because it's imperfect. And it is not the Old Testament, I'm sorry. The Old Testament is passing by. So I must be getting excited because I'm stumbling over myself. So he says instead, on verse 14, their minds were blinded, for until this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Christ.
All right now.
So wait a minute. I mean, and we know that the Old Testament extends all the way up through the Gospels until the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's what brought in the New Testament. And yet, that tells us that every church I ever went to was either preaching out of the what's known as the Old Testament or the Gospels, which are part of the Old Testament. And this is telling us that that's why their minds were blinded. That the veil remains as long as you read that Old Testament. He says, but even unto this day, when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart.
Yeah.
Now, let me just give you an example. You take somebody like me, that I was saved by grace through faith, and I was taught that, and I knew it. But then I go to this church and that, and they're reading the Old Testament. And it just made me feel dead inside. It was like it was taking away my security, my freedom. It was putting me back under bondage and making me think, uh-oh, I'm back under performance. Well, I knew if it's my performance, I'm going to hell. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you just see how this is, that when Moses is read, it puts a veil on your heart. It just hurts you. It kills you. It makes you not close to God anymore because you're hiding, because you're afraid you don't qualify. But, nevertheless, verse 16, when it shall turn to the Lord, the veil shall be taken away. And before we knew how to rightly divide, that's exactly what would happen to us, is we'd be reading those Gospels, and we'd be thinking, oh no, we're in trouble again. Let's jump over to Paul and read something that makes us feel like we're forgiven. You know, because Paul is talking about after the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, when we are forgiven if we trust in that fact. So, let's see, I was supposed to go further, wasn't I? Verse 17, now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And there is liberty. We're so relieved, you know. I mean, wouldn't you just love to have a child that you were raising that just loved you, and, you know, and wanted to do what you asked him to do because he loved you and he wanted to please you, know. And it doesn't feel so good when the only reason he does what you want him to do is because you got a big old bat in your hand and you're going to beat him up if he doesn't. There's no pleasure in that anywhere around, you know. And it's the same thing with God, you know. He wants people that love him and that want to please him and may fail, but they want to please him and they love him. And it's a spiritual thing, and it's not, oh no. And we know people, all of us know people, who are trying to obey the law every day of their lives, and there's no joy, and they're miserable, and they feel condemned, and any minute they're afraid they might die, and if they do, they're going to go to hell because they haven't done enough good works. What a terrible position to be in. Okay, well let's, so what is that liberty from? What is the liberty from that he's talking about? It's the liberty from the impossible task, right? Which is righteousness by the letter. Which is self-righteousness. All our lives, even the non-religious people, ask them why they're worthy. They'll say, I pay my taxes, I don't lie. They'll start giving you the reasons why they are justified, and it's going to be because they think they do enough right things and not too many wrong things. And that's what they're thinking. And that's self-righteousness. That's a person who thinks he's justified by his own behavior. What other kind of righteousness can there be other than that kind, where you earn it by your perfect behavior?
Fresh righteousness.
Yeah. The only kind that gives life. Yeah. And it's through the Spirit, right? Through the Lord. Let's go to Romans chapter 7. I was thinking Tuesday, Frank, that between what I said last Sunday and you said Tuesday, this lesson was mostly already covered ahead of time. We covered most of these verses. Romans chapter 7, verse 6, where Paul tells us, he says, but now we are delivered from the law. We're delivered from the law. That being dead wherein we were held. We were dead, held under the law, that we should serve in newness of the Spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. So, that's so simple, isn't it? Delivered from the law in the newness of the Spirit. Let's go back to 2 Corinthians chapter 3. Verse 18. And I just, as we're looking at this, I just want to make the point again. You notice that with the Israelites, it's not that in this future kingdom that they're going to be in, they're going to all of a sudden not be obeying the law. It's that it will be their pleasure and their joy and the natural thing that they do. That's the difference. It's not the what, it's the how. They're still going to be, you're going to look at them and you're going to say, well, they're obeying the law. But they're not getting up every day and saying, how am I going to follow the law so I can please God? Because everything they do is going to be according to the law naturally.
So they'll still have free will.
They'll
still have free will, but their will be...
But there won't be that other choice even in their hearts anymore. The knowledge of evil won't be there anymore. It will just be the knowledge of God's law in their hearts, what they want to do. Verse 18, for us though, it says, but we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. Now we still have free will. In other words, we're saved, and we want to please the Lord. There's something that's changed in what we want to do, but we can will to not do it. We can will to not read the Bible. We can will to not assemble with other believers. We can will to do all these things and still be saved.